I want to ask you a bunch of rapid fire questions, actually, that I've been wanting to ask you for a while. So this is for me mostly.
Yes, I wear deodorant.
Oh, you do?
I'm so sorry.
Is it organic though?
Nope. Yeah, it is.
It is, right?
Yeah,
is that true?
Sometimes it doubles as hand sanitizer, but yeah.
Oh, actually, I know this about you. You've given this. Oh, share this hack. This is such a good hack.
Okay.
I was smelly one day.
Kids, don't try this at home. But if you have an organic hand sanitizer that is mostly alcohol, it also doubles as deodorant.
Yeah, which
now,
is
not mouthwash, but definitely deodorant because I've tried it.
Yeah, and you gave it to me.
Yeah,
and I didn't I thought it was actual deodorant. I used it for like a week straight because you didn't tell me. That's I trust you too much. Okay, so you do use deodorant, but you don't use non-organic ones because there is some data that shows that it's linked to cancer?
Well, there are a lot of environmental exposures, and I want to be very careful. There is the information overload. Everything is toxic. So there's kind of these two camps that everything is toxic. You have to eat organic. And then the other group that is organic's a waste of money. Don't worry about all this stuff. It's okay to have dyes. And I think the truth is often somewhere in the middle. But what we do know is that a lot of the stuff that we are using, it does contain a lot of chemicals. And this is true. It is probably the amount that we are using over a lifetime is probably not what we are using, say, a month at a time. Me and our household, we try to do as natural as possible.
So you're not going to be sponsored by
Celsius? I'm waiting. But again,
so Celsius, say the big deodorant companies.
So Celsius artificial sweeteners is another big, for example, hot topic. I don't think the data is very strong that most artificial sweeteners are negative to the brain or the human body.
Really? Mm-hmm. You actually, I mean, you do drink as much caffeine as like, I don't know, a 300-pound bodybuilder per day. So maybe the other question is, I saw a video the other day that I was like, whoa, this is a title. And it was, is caffeine killing us?
No. Some people do have a genetic SNP that they are more susceptible to the negative side effects of caffeine, but you will know if you are that person. I mean, you can always, of course, test for it. Happy to come to our clinic. We'll test you for it. But the reality is caffeine in a moderate dose is not going to be detrimental.
Yeah. What about, is caffeine bad for women when we're trying to get pregnant? I read another one saying coffee's bad for pregnant women. So you just want to steal all my joy.
I'm sorry. When I was pregnant, I did not go over 200 milligrams of caffeine.
What about before you were pregnant, like trying to get pregnant?
I'm not pregnant yet. Sign me up.
Yeah, what you're saying. God, there's so many things. Okay, how about this one? Are Lululemons making us infertile? Are Lululemon leggings making us infertile?
If I were to put and rank the hierarchy of what is causing infertility, and let's say what is the number one cause of female infertility? For young women, it's polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is also known as PCOS. There are two types of PCOS. One comes from the brain and the other is metabolic. The other being metabolic, guess where the biggest lever that we can pull for improving our chances of fertility if you are someone who has PCOS is?
Muscle.
I'm just exercise.
Guess. Really?
And diet.
Wait, so you were saying if you have PCOS right now, you should be lifting and following a strength regime?
Yes.
I have never heard a doctor say that before.
And I interviewed on my podcast one of the world leading experts in PCOS. Her name is Dr. Melanie Cree. She is an MD PhD. And she did, if there are 10 studies on Ozempic or GLP-1s and fertility, she's done 2 of them. And I asked her, she was, we were in a podcast, and I said, okay, so what % body fat is it that allows someone to get pregnant, or the ones that are going to really suffer on an ongoing basis? And she looked at me and she's like, Gabrielle, it has nothing to do with body fat percentage. It has everything to do with intermuscular adipose tissue. Break that down. It's how much fat is actually stored in your muscle. And that comes from insulin resistance. In part of that is being sedentary. I mean, there are genetic risks for PCOS, but what we do know is that exercise and a good diet will often, I'm being very careful about how I'm saying this, will improve people's likelihood of conceiving.
Why is it that doctors, by and large, don't tell us things like that?
It's a lot to ask for someone to be trained at an expert level in multiple domains. In order to become a physician, you're already going through 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, then training, and then a fellowship. To also ask that person to be an expert at nutrition is a lot.
How many studies do you have to read to go, probably better that you work out?
Not that many. Not that many.
So like, is that really an excuse for doctors to not use it? Or is it like a liability if they say it? I don't get it.
No, but I will say I'm just speaking from my own perspective, I think for physicians, because there is so much noise out there, I don't think that they like to step into that noisy realm. And what do I mean by this? I'll give you an example. So in order to be a board certified physician, you still have to study. It doesn't just go away once you graduate and start practicing. And many doctors would say, don't eat red meat and reduce your dietary cholesterol. They were misinformed because dietary cholesterol recommendations were taken out of the dietary guidelines in 2015. Therefore, the information of don't eat eggs or don't eat red meat because it's bad for your cholesterol. Cholesterol is not even part of the guidelines right now.
Wow. What changed?
I think that the scientists determined that it wasn't relevant, that dietary cholesterol had very little impact on blood level cholesterol.
I feel like doctors need like a beeper or something. Like just like, can they give them the updates? Like, is there some nationwide system where when new data comes out, they say, well, all doctors should know this, or there's not really a way?
That's a really good point. There is, but it's per specialty. And again, nutrition is challenging because it's something that everybody does. Eat. It becomes very difficult to get through the noise.
Yeah. The tough part is there's the other side of the coin too, right? Which is like we have all these people online giving all of this advice who are definitely not a doctor, never read a study before or read one like on the side, don't really understand how to analyze peer-reviewed studies, and are also sharing a lot of information like if you eat seed oils, you about to die. And so it can kind of become—
Which we know that that's not true.
That's so controversial too, because I feel like if we had, you know, let's say I had Paul Saladino here, you here, Huberman here, and Alex Clark, there'd be a war.
But here's what I would say. I would say, let's call in the people that have done these studies and let's talk to them. So for example, Dr. Kevin Mackey, he was and he still might be the president of the Lipid Association. This guy's a career scientist. And I was like, Kevin, what's the deal? And he said, the evidence doesn't support that seed oils are causing the derangement that people are saying.
What about when they say that's because the studies haven't been around long enough, or the, you know, big pharma and the food industry are the ones that pay for it? So
people will always look to something.
That's not what you're seeing in the data. You're saying these studies actually seem reasonable. We have enough data. We're analyzing it in real time.
And the good studies will also talk about the limitations. We also know that whole foods are a great choice. If we think about that, then we can become less hyper-focused on these little things. So the issue isn't food dyes. The issue isn't seed oils. The bigger issue is, how do we feed for human health? All these other things are distractions.
Why, when I go to Europe, can I eat all the bread and all the food and I lose weight?
You're probably walking more than 10,000 steps.
Well, it's probably about 2,000 here, about 12,000 there.
And also you're probably eating from whole food sources. Maybe you're getting outside more. The reality is it's very difficult to hyper-focus on one thing. It would be like for the entrepreneur, the one problem in your business is just because of this. You have a really rude front desk person. Like, no, you guys are not taking care of your taxes. You don't have good lead gen. There's I could find 100 other reasons. The foundation is your business is not set up well. The same is for nutrition.
Yeah. Okay, what about, I heard a study the other day that said loneliness causes dementia.
And I actually saw that study, so we are social creatures. I don't know if it's loneliness. I mean, I think that that's probably subjective and they probably use survey data, but we do know that not being in relationships and having relationships around you is a risk factor for depression and anxiety and dementia.
So what's the solve for that?
Hang out more.
Like that?
But not necessarily. It's interesting. So when I say hang out more, and I haven't seen this data, but we're not talking about social media hangout. Having real relationships with real people that you can count on. Because AI is going to take over. And people are creating relationships with AI bots. And it is very disruptive for the human connection.
What does the data tell us about AI relationships or parasocial relationships versus in-person relationships? Like, does one supplement the other? If I'm talking to my AI all day, if I'm on Instagram all day, and I feel like I'm engaging with people, does that actually feel like engagement in my body?
It's not the same, but there is data to suggest that you do have that same feeling, but it is not the same. And I think we're also going to start to see more of that data as well.
So like for our health factor, it doesn't make me healthier and less lonely to engage online, but it does make me healthier to engage in person.
Yes. And I can't say for sure. Again, I have to be very clear about, again, doctors and scientists, we have to be very careful about what we're saying. For some people, could it be better? Yes, but I think that it will always be better if you are engaging in person because we have nonverbal cues.
Yeah.
And we are somewhat of a connected nervous system. Our eyes connect. I mean, this is how we communicate. It's not just verbal communication. You cannot do that with a robot.
Yeah. Well, and then obviously, aren't there a lot of studies out there about physical touch too and how important that is?
Yes.
And so if we're completely replacing physical touch, I imagine that can't be great. I mean, I saw it with my grandparents, for instance. One side of the family had my grandma super engaged. Like we stayed in touch with her. She still had relationships. She still went out in the world during COVID. The other side, they were super quarantined. Nobody was around them. They never left their house. They were really antisocial, sort of like mandated. And one side, I mean, it was wild. My grandma is older. She's like asking me about ChatGPT and AI now. She's so with it. She's 100 years old. The other two, I mean, we lost them the last 5 years. Complete dementia, like lack of idea about where they are, not able to really use their own faculties at all anymore. And of course, this is all, qualitative, not quantitative. But it was hard actually watching it and seeing them completely decline almost the second that they stopped having interaction. And I personally was like, I'd rather die from COVID than like slowly decline in dementia because I'm by myself.
Yeah, it's really tough. And there are other factors that we know. So for example, physical touch releases oxytocin. And oxytocin is what we think of as that bonding hormone. If you are sitting in a chair and have the massager chair, you don't release the same amount of oxytocin. There are biological and physiological differences when you are engaging with human connection.
So if they're not getting any of that, they're not having oxytocin release. And what does oxytocin release do? Is that good for your brain, essentially?
It is good for your brain. It's good for your mood.
Yeah.
Think about it. Women release oxytocin when they have a baby, when they have sex, or when they orgasm.
Could clarify.
You can also take oxytocin intranasally. You can.
Wait, what?
Yeah, for mood, for milk letdown. Men and women can take it.
Like you snuff oxytocin up your nose with like a sprayer?
Yeah. Some people take allergy spray.
I love that you go, yeah, totally. Aren't you doing it too, Codie?
Yeah, I've got some in my purse, as a matter of fact. But the reality is what we are talking about is what are we going to do with the society that we live in now? How do we reorient ourselves to just a healthy lifestyle, which again starts with muscle, training, protein. It's not that complicated, but also good relationships, especially in the wake of this increase in AI online community. And again, if people want to perform at their best, then the ways to do that, I think, are very clear.
What do the studies tell us about being negative and being smarter or having a healthier brain? Like if you have negative thought patterns, are you more likely to shrink your brain size? Are you more likely to have a stronger brain? Does it matter if I'm negative or positive?
Well, I can't say that I have looked at those studies, but here's what I will tell you about the brain. That from a metabolic perspective, because this all ties in, the more overweight you are, the wider your waistline, the lower the brain volume. It's not good.
Fatter you are, dumber you are?
You heard it here, folks.
Okay, just make sure I'm tracking.
The other thing is that when you are training and when you are moving and doing cardiovascular activity, doing resistance training, you will have less atrophy. Your brain will be more robust in terms of preventing shrinkage. And this is what we see as women go through perimenopause, menopause. You do not want to be dealing with 3 diabetes of the brain. As far as negative and positive, we know that sleep can help with brain function. That's the time the brain cleans itself. All very important. But again, a depressed brain, would someone say that that is a more unhealthy brain? I would say probably.
And is this something that we are seeing accelerate in our country? Like it seems like these days, more often than not, when I talk to my friends' grandparents, they have some version of dementia or Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So this is accelerating.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is? Is this purely because of obesity and lack of muscle?
I think that it's not purely, but I think that that is the main driver. Because think about all the activities that ride with healthy muscle. You're out, you're moving more, you're motivated. Is it the muscle itself? From a metabolic perspective, yes. Type 3 diabetes of the brain is insulin resistance of the brain. What your body does, your brain also does.
Like, do doctors recommend muscle, strength training?
Good doctors do.
Good doctors do.
Yeah.
But most of them today would recommend basically pills and crossword puzzles, right?
I think that we are starting to see a shift. For the last 50 so years, we've been focused on obesity as if this is the sole problem. And I would argue that obesity is just one problem. Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, that these are all symptoms of unhealthy skeletal muscle. And if you are worried about all of these other things, including your performance at work, you have to focus on the things that you actually have agency for, which is not actually weight loss. I cannot tell my body to lose 2 pounds, but I can tell my body, okay, you're going to go squat 120. So there are things that we have the option to control, and then the things that we don't.